Another film I saw this week was The Innkeepers, Ty West's film about a haunted hotel. It stars Pat Healy and Sara Paxton as the staff in a rundown hotel somewhere in New England on the last weekend before it's due to close down, and filmed in a real hotel, in fact. They're both amateur ghost hunters, and they've tried to set up a website and investigate ghosts on the premises, but they find that their attempts at investigating are distracted by having to deal with basics of hotel management, like dealing with the very minimal staff, people turning up unexpectedly, and simply trying to kill time until they can leave for work, leave work the following morning. Um, I found this very disappointing. This has been quite highly acclaimed, from what I gather. And Ty West has done some other very fine work. I was very impressed by his film Pearl, released last year in the UK, which was a very visually sumptuous, very well imagined and rich character story that looked stunning and was one of the best films of the year. This is, I think, his second or maybe third film, and it looks cheap. We very briefly leave the hotel for one short sequence at a coffee shop down the street, but otherwise it's set entirely inside the hotel. The lighting is very flat and very even. It looks very like video, and it feels very slack. There is a lot of rambling dialogue scenes which are vaguely interesting in illustrating the characters, but it never advances the story. The actual plot of the film really could be condensed into a quarter of the running time. There's very little story here, and it feels much more like a mumblecore shoegazing take on a haunted house story. And as a result, there's not that much here that's of any particular great interest. There's some note in some of the casting. We have Kelly McGillis as one of the guests, having been in Top Gun and Witness in the 80s, has now had something of a comeback and plays an actress turned psychic. And Lena Dunham cameos as the rather dull coffee shop waitress at the shop down the street. But it's interesting to see the learning curve of Ty West's films. You jump forward to X, for example, and that's a entirely competent but rather dull slasher movie that nevertheless looks much more interesting and more cinematic than this does. And then to Pearl, which was a terrific film and had a fantastic visual sensibility, had this great lustrous photography combined with a very intelligent, well-written script. So he's got a very steep learning curve. I'd be interested in seeing his next film, but based on this, probably not any of his previous ones.